Welcome to Jurassic Park.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Why don't we just wait here for a little while?
Do you want to know what it is?
There's no knowing where you might be swept off to.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Shepherds we shall be, for thee, my life, for thee.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
There's a special rug in hell reserved for people who waste good scotch.
He peed on my rug.
He peed on the dude's rug.
Do your worst.
Final report of the commercial starship Nostromo.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Welcome to your feature presentation. I am your host, Heath Fall. Today we are talking about the first Omen and Monkey Man. Joining me today is Andrew McKay.
Are you ready to embark on another cinematic journey through the vast realms of film? Ahoy, cinephile.
Yes. Ahoy, cinephile.
Ahoy. Ahoy. I'm not sure
man.
where the nautical theme is coming from the AI. But once it's not stupid, once AI learns to do it like professionally, we're done. We're out of here.
Did you deselect the assume pirate feature?
I do default to pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
all of my
same.
settings actually.
Yeah, every time I get a new phone or anything, I put the settings to default as pirate. Assume I'm a pirate. Yeah.
It's any good American would actually.
Right.
I think.
Well, dude, I have got a surprise for you. I wanted to tell you as we were recording, but we got our first official sponsor for the podcast. Yeah, and this is really exciting. They just wanted me to read something here for you. So our sponsor is Cerveza Cristal. Oh, man. Worth it.
I got Cerveza Cristo.
Obviously, that's a joke.
I should have seen that. I should have seen it coming.
Probably a lot of you have seen that joke. If you haven't, there's like this resurfaced recently that there was the Chilean TV release of the original Star Wars movies back in like 2004. But somehow they started going like viral recently where they showed the movies and they inserted commercials into the movies. So instead of taking commercial breaks, they they reshot a scene. So like Obi-Wan goes and like, hey, your father wanted you to have this. And where he usually pulls out a lightsaber, it's badly cut to like a guy opening a cooler and he grabs a beer and the jingle goes off, which the jingle's the best part because it just like
it's so good.
Breaks the tension. Just Cerveza Cristal. So
really rips you right out of the movie.
It's like, oh man, it's so funny. It's if you just look up Cerveza Cristal if you haven't seen it, it's so funny. And then a bunch of people are doing re-edits of them, and they're just fun. So that was a bit of our humor today.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah. So let's talk about some movies here. So we got the first Omen and Monkey Man. Let's start with the first Omen. You want to read us the synopsis?
Yeah. So the first Omen, it's about a young American woman sent to Rome to begin a life of service to the church, but encounters a darkness that causes her to question her faith and uncovers a terrifying conspiracy that hopes to bring about the birth of evil incarnate.
So, unfortunately, my first thought with this is, didn't we just talk about this movie? Because it's so similar to, what's that Sydney Sweeney movie we just talked about? Immaculate. I was like, didn't we just talk about this movie? Like, it's a nun, and there's like a secret birth, and
Yes.
I don't know.
Is there not also another nun type horror movie coming out soon that's not this one and not Immaculate?
I don't know. I'm going cross-eyed at this point. It's like I have no idea what's being talked about anymore. Oh man, but yeah. So this is the Omen series. Do you like the Omen movies?
I've never seen an Omen movie.
I think I saw I don't even know if there's multiple. I saw the first one, but yeah, this is a director this is their first kind of movie. Arkasha Stevenson, Vessels, Legion, Yeah, a lot of TV stuff, like for directing purposes, but yeah, so this is another horror movie, which is interesting. We're getting a lot of horror movies lately.
I totally agree. I did notice that. One thing that I'll say about the director's experience is the episode they did in Legion was so good. Have you seen Legion?
I have not. No, talk to me about it.
Legion was an FX like X-Men like offshoot series.
Yes.
So it was like in the X-Men world, but not really associated with the main movie universes, because they were doing all sorts of weird stuff with like First Class and the subsequent movies. But it was super experimental and very cerebral. So the fact that Arkasha was connected with like a show that's so weird and so like out there, like Legion, and then watching the trailer for the first Omen, that makes a lot of sense to me. I feel like Legion wasn't horror, but it was definitely very like interesting, and it was very what's the word, unorthodox, you could say.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. It feels like we've seen this kind of thing a lot, that there's a new director doing a movie, and it's like, this is the first major movie that they've done. And I don't know, I think that's exciting. I'm excited for some fresh perspectives, and I will be vocal that I don't think the last 2023 was not a great year for movies, and maybe that's just some directors or some of the movies just not doing as well. But I'm excited to see some fresh blood in there. Like yeah, like if like it's cool because you bring that up, it's like, man, this director did such a great episode of this TV show, and it looks like she's a showrunner on some other stuff. It's like, yeah, give them a shot. Like, let's do this. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
any cast things that you've noticed? I have an actor that stood out to me immediately.
Oh yeah, go through that.
Okay, so Nell Tiger Free, do you know her?
No.
Okay, she was in a show. It's either still going or they just wrapped it up. She was in a show called Servant on Apple TV, and Servant was the show that made me purchase Apple TV in 2020, I think. Like 2019, 2020. I pulled the trigger on it because I just did a free trial and I watched Servant.
Yeah.
And it is not horror, but definitely like a spooky drama thriller maybe. And she just plays like an ominous, like unassuming character so well, and it doesn't seem like she's per se like the bad or the evil person in this film. So I'm interested to see how she'll like act adjacent to the evil entity instead of being, for the most part, in Servant, like the kind of the source of bad things that are happening. But anyway, Servant was great. She was great. Very, very talented young actress.
Also, this just blew my mind. She's Marcella Baratheon in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That's crazy. So, like, yeah, she was mostly in the early seasons of that, and then they kind of sent her away in the show. But that's cool to see her do some interesting stuff. And I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know. Did anybody else stand out to you? I've got a couple people that was like, oh, speaking of Game of Thrones, Charles Dance.
Yes, Charles Dance.
Bill Nighy. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Love that guy. I think those were the couple that I recognized. I recognized Ralph Ineson's voice, but I couldn't necessarily place his face.
He's one of those people that I'm like, it's that British guy. Like, he's just like a British actor, and most people I think would recognize him if they saw him. He's just I'd say he's like a character actor. He's done a lot of stuff. He was just in The Creator. He was in The Witch.
Yeah.
The Green Knight. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
That's probably why I recognize him. I did watch The Creator recently.
Oh, nice.
And The Witch is probably one of the worst horror movie mistakes that I made in the last October season, because I watched that at like 11 p.m. on my own, like completely alone.
Oh.
And he was in it. He's very obviously distinct, like recognizable voice, so that's probably where I recognize it from.
Oh, yeah.
He's like scary Papa. What's the guy from Prairie? What's that old TV show?
A Little House on the Prairie?
The Little House on the Prairie. What's that guy? What's the dad's name? Like Pop or something?
Papa Inglis? Or something, right?
I just, for some reason, I started watching The Witch, and I was like, oh, this is like Little House on the Prairie. But like horror, and I was so, it messed me up bad.
Oh,
Oof.
I'm sorry. My horror movie mistake was Midsummer, and I know you like that one, but I
Love that one.
I don't like that type of horror, and I was just like, I'm uncomfortable. I regret watching that movie. I think it's a quality movie, but yes, yeah, that was my. I feel like everyone has that horror movie that's like, oh, that was too much for me. I can't sleep.
Yes. So the first Omen.
I thought you were gonna say that after you watched The Witch, you were gonna have to watch some Little House on the Prairie to cool down. I thought that's where that story was going.
As a cool down.
It's just got my blanket, and just watch some Papa Inglis.
Just need my
Ingalls.
my prairie.
Yeah. I need my prairie. Awesome. All right, let's move on to Monkey Man.
Yeah, Monkey Man is about an anonymous young man who unleashes a campaign of vengeance against the corrupt leaders, who murdered his mother and continue to systematically victimize the poor and the powerless.
I am so excited for this movie. Like, I like to talk. I mean, obviously, we like to talk about movies. I'm excited about a lot of stuff, and I always like to figure out what I would go see or what I'm going to go see this weekend. But wow, I'm just excited about this movie. Do you have any initial thoughts? Like, what are you thinking about it?
My initial thoughts were Dev Patel is really cool, and this is his first like directing film. Like, this is his directorial debut, which is absolutely insane that he can star in what people are calling the best action film in a decade, and direct it at the same time. And that is so impressive to me.
Yeah. So there's so many reasons. I feel like the trailer looks great. It's a very kind of, I would say, more of like a John Wick style. By that I mean a quality action,
Yes.
revenge type movie. But it just watch the trailer. It just really sells it. I think you're like, yeah, that's the type of movie you're gonna like. But yeah, even if I didn't like the trailer, even if I didn't see the trailer, all the stuff kind of makes me want to watch it. So Dev Patel is, I would say, most known for me from Slumdog Millionaire. He was
interesting.
Yeah, he was young Jamal in that, and he's done. So yeah, I believe that movie, that's a Best Picture winner.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and he have you ever seen Slumdog Millionaire?
I have not. No.
Oh yeah, you should do that.
It's just like the game show, right?
Yeah. Oh, so you don't even know about this movie?
No, I don't really.
Oh man, yeah, it was really big. I was in high school for this, so it feels like it was very much,
Oh, I probably wasn't born yet.
Yeah, exactly. You were negative 20 at this point. I think I'm only like 7 years older than you.
I know
I love our jokes that like I'm like 37 years older.
Yeah,
like,
Dad.
Yes, my boy, my boy. I am. You are my Paul, and I am your Duncan, Idaho.
Very nice. I love that.
So anyways, yeah, Slumdog Millionaire is a great film. It's basically, it's India's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But I think, if I remember correctly, it's been quite a while. He basically he answers all these questions, and then it keeps flashing back to like these guys like abduct him and like, how did you know all these answers? And then it flashes back to everything that happened in his life, all these moments of why he knew the answer.
Whoa.
So it's like he's like, answer one of these 4 questions, and he'll answer it, and then it flashes back to him like living on the streets, or him having this experience or this, and like when he gained that knowledge, you know, and the series of events through his life that led him to answer all these. So
That's really cool.
If I haven't sold you on Monkey Man, I just sold you on Slumdog Millionaire.
I think I'm sold on two movies at the same time right now.
Yeah. And so he's like, was a child actor. And then he's did a lot of TV shows. Like he did some episodes. I think he only directed 1 short, I want to say. Let me see. I want to go to his directorial.
He was unfortunately in The Last Airbender from 2010.
Yes, we do not speak.
Yes.
Yeah, he was Prince Zuko in the M. Night Shyamalan movie, which now Netflix has their own show, and
so it's just erased.
Yeah, it's erased. I don't know. I'm enjoying that show, but I do feel it's like I just like the cartoon. The cartoon is perfect. I'll just rewatch the cartoon when I wanna be back in that world. But anyway, so he directed 2 shorts, and then Monkey Man. I think it's really so. Again, this is a new director, and he's writing, directing, and I believe producing. And yeah, how cool is that? That he's doing that.
That's amazing. Oof, so cool. Can we talk about the John Wick comparison, or the John Wick box, for lack of a better term, that people would put on action movies for potentially forever?
Let's do it.
So I see a trailer like this, and I say, oh, the first 30 seconds, I was like, got it. Dev Patel is just doing a John Wick thing. But that's so reductionistic. That's like it really reduces the whole project and everything, that like the individual writing, the directing, it is its own movie, 100%. I've never even seen it. But there's this thought in my brain of like, guy in suit, not even suit, like just guy has a vengeance plan against some sort of mob or someone bad, and he's like fighting them. And I go, John Wick. Do you think this is as widespread as I think it is? And what kind of effect do you think this is having on action movies? Like, do you think this movie will suffer in part because of the John Wick stereotypes?
I don't think so. I was going to bring up too, that's a really interesting part, because I mean something different when I say John Wick about a movie. Like, I was like, this is like a John Wick movie. And I was like, I bet a lot of people have different meanings for what that is. And that's interesting to hear you say, because you basically don't want it to be lowered or put in a box, right? That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, which is really weird, because I like John Wick movies are really good.
Yeah.
So I feel like to be associated with something that's good is a good thing. But at the same time, I found myself immediately writing the trailer off, because, I could just watch John Wick again if I wanted to watch a movie like this, when that's not the case. That's not, like, these movies are completely different stories, everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, because I read that thing about John Wick that, like, people were saying, like, oh, Dev Patel does John Wick, and I think that is a bummer to put it in a box. But I have a very different meaning when I say something is like a John Wick. Mm-hmm. Like, this movie is like, it's like a John Wick thing. Yes, it's an action movie. Yes, it's a revenge. But what I really mean, and what I really think about when someone says it's John Wick, is during, when did the first movie come out? 2014, John Wick? Somewhere in there.
I'm not sure.
When it came out, I felt like a lot of action were just meat and potatoes. They were just like very cliche. The action was dry. And then the director, it was a 2-team director system that did John Wick. And my computer's being so slow right now, so I'm not going to look it up. It takes too much time.
Hey, that's all right. That's okay.
So if you want to look up facts and join me, you can, but don't feel like you need to either.
Derek Kolstad?
For the director?
Oh, no, that's a writer. Chad Stahelski and David Leitch?
Yes. Yep, those 2 guys. Look up those guys sometime because they've done a bunch of cool stuff lately too.
Very nice.
But basically, they were stunt guys. They were stunt coordinators, and they did stuff on like The Matrix and these big, budget movies. And they felt that the action needed to be elevated. We can do this better. And they're like, if we have someone like Keanu Reeves, we can make the action better. And I think, especially in that first John Wick movie and going forward in that series, it's an elevated type of fighting. It's like, make it interesting. It's a movie, right?
Yeah.
You could show somebody just punching someone in the face, but like, why not do it in a cool way that's like visually interesting? And you have an actor like Keanu Reeves that can actually do stuff. He can do all the gun tricks. He can do all that physicality and just like the jujitsu and like, or what they call it, gun fu, I think is what they call John Wick. Like
punch someone in the face with a gun. Shooting.
And just like the way he'd reload, they like made it visually interesting, like he'd like whip out the mag from the gun. So I think that was such a big statement to me. I think that they were like, we want to do action better. And I think that to me is such a movement at that time that I that's what I think of when someone says John Wick. And I think they're kind of stealing it I think it's more of a quality as opposed to a story.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep, and I think that is the best way to look at it. I think you're looking at it correctly. And I need to watch myself. I need to be careful.
I don't mean to shut you down either, because like I also think you're right. Terms like that are just like people just throw in terms because they want you to watch it, right? Like I think it's hard for some people to get their mind around a new movie, especially a wide audience. Like, how do you sell this quick? And it's like John Wick. It's like, I love John Wick. I'll go watch that. But to me, I think it's a statement about quality. And reviews are out on this already. Which is always a good sign.
Because of South by Southwest.
Yeah. So it was released at the big movie festival. And yeah, we don't have to talk about rating, but I just want to it's positive. It's really positive. Like, so that's really cool to see when they release reviews early. I think that's always a good sign because they're confident in the movie. But it looks like it's just going to be a great movie and just really fun.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah.
So, surprise us, Heath. Which one of the two will get your ticket this weekend?
I'm going to go see Immaculate again, I think.
I knew it. I saw you there last weekend.
we did sit in the same theater, but we sat apart and just kind of like gave each other a bro nod. And
one nod.
One nod.
Yeah.
And we weren't
I drove up.
You threw up?
No, not today. I drove 3 hours just to sit behind you in the theater.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. And then we didn't talk. We were just like, "Hey,
no,
were you there?" No. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go see Monkey Man. It just looks so cool.
Very cool.
I'm so excited.
Yes, I also will see Monkey Man. However, it is pretty close because the first Omen really intrigues me, and I do love a good horror movie. Despite my lack of having seen horror movies before the year 2000.
Yeah, I was definitely one of those people too. Like, horror movies were not my whole life thing. Kind of more of like a 20s and on thing. I really like them, and I think it's fun to see. I feel like a big benefit of horror movies is they are just typically not as expensive as like a big blockbuster like a Marvel or a DC or something like that. They can just be made for less money. They typically need smaller casts, and I think it's kind of makes them focus on story more, and I think that's cool. What would you see? Would you definitely see Monkey Man over?
Yeah, just barely Monkey Man.
Oh, just barely. So would you go back and you're like, let's say it's a glorious weekend and you're watching one movie one night and one the other. You'd go back and watch.
Oh yeah, if I had the opportunity, for sure. But yeah, I
Beautiful.
think if it was a Friday night, I'd see Monkey Man. If it was like a Saturday afternoon, I'd see First Omen.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Well, awesome, man. Go see Monkey Man or go see. I literally keep blanking on the name of the other movie.
First Omen.
The First Omen. It'll stick
Man,
in my brain.
it is
eventually.
so far out of your brain. You're like, I'm not seeing this movie.
Yeah, it's like it's already gone. It's already behind me.
Yeah. Heath is seeing Monkey Man 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I was gonna say, yeah. You ask me the same questions, like, what are you gonna go see? Oh, you get an opportunity, you get to go see 2 movies in this weekend, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go see Monkey Man. I'm gonna go see Monkey Man again. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Then maybe sneak out at the last bit of Monkey Man and go see Dune 2 again. So,
Oh, perfect.
well, sweet. I think you had a little question for us. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, of course. So, question for the episode. If you could rewatch a movie for the first time right now,
Ooh.
what movie would that be?
Wow, that's tough.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. What movie could I watch? Like, basically kind of erase it from my memory and
Yes.
want to experience it again. Man, there's so
I have
many
an answer.
movies.
If you want to think
Okay.
and stew it over.
Yeah, let's hear yours
Okay.
first.
So I would love to watch the Leonardo DiCaprio, Martin Scorsese thriller. What was that one called? Shutter Island.
Ooh.
I would like to watch that again because the first time I watched it, I was in college, and there was a room of like 10 people, and we were like, oh, we should watch a movie, and somebody just like popped in Shutter Island casually, and everyone was chit-chatting, and like there was a party, and I was just sitting like on the ground in front of the couch staring at this TV, like trying to watch this movie, completely enamored. Like, what is going on? What is happening? So I loved it. However, I was not in a good atmosphere for it. And I don't think that Scorsese's movies have a high rewatch percentage. Like, there's not a lot of his movies that you watch 2 or 3 times. And that one is, maybe you could watch it twice, but the whole point is kind of the ending. And I would like to see the ending for the first time again.
Have you seen The Departed?
No. Is that a good one?
Yeah, that's a super good one. There's a couple. I understand what you're saying. There's a couple that he has done that I think are rewatchable. But I get that a lot of those big twist movies. I think a lot of it's hard because I kept thinking, do I want to watch a movie that I love so much, or is it like something that like blew my mind or really surprised me? And I kind of don't love this movie. But just a moment that sprang to my brain was Saw. Like the ending of Saw, and I won't spoil it, but you've seen Saw?
No.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, so I definitely won't spoil it then.
What? I just said I liked horror movies and I've never seen Saw.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a series that's interesting. But anyways, the first one, it got me. It wasn't even like, I won't even say, I don't want to describe anything, but it's just like that experience of seeing it was like, whoa, like, I don't know. And that just something with something like that kind of wowed me at the time, I think would be cool. I don't love that answer, honestly, but I might have to change my answer later. But that's just the first one that popped in my brain, like something with like that, the uniqueness at the end. That's what I'll say. Yeah. Perfect.
Great.
Well, thanks for joining me, man. Talking movies.
Oh, anytime.
So we are excited. So this Friday is we have our first movie talk, which we did a movie talk on Dune 1 that was kind of like a shorter 40-minute thing. And this Friday we're talking, it's our first movie talk that's going to be longer form. So it's about like an hour and a half. We're talking about a ridiculous movie. It's called Extreme Days. It's a 2001 Christian movie. It's a Extreme or X Games movie about 4 guys that go on a road trip, and just surf and skateboard and motorcycle, and It's fun, right?
So good, so good. Drive a Toyota around.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
So check that show out on Friday, and we're gonna be doing more movie talks like that, trying some longer forms, about a couple times a month. We'll see how it works. But yeah, Andrew, why don't you take us home?
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sitting with us, guys. Don't forget, subscribe. You can find us on anywhere you get podcasts. Sharing the podcast, social medias, word of mouth, text messages always helps us grow the channel. Appreciate you. See you next time. Go see a movie.
Go see a movie. Cerveza Cristo.
Cristo.